Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are doing something a little bit new. Anna from Peacecraft Love has created a new hop which is called the Iron Crafter Challenge. And for this challenge we were to use sequins, beads, or pearls. And so for what I chose to do was to dig deep into my stash, and I found some beads, like glass beads that I had that I used to make to wrap pens. I used to stamp on paper and then wrap pens in the beads so you could see the design through the beads. But I had a ton of them left. So I reached into my stash and I found this pack of kind of like silver micro beads, and it also has like a little bit of like glitter inside of it too. So I decided I was going to use that for my Iron Crafter challenge. So as you can see me doing here, I used one of my Vicky Bouton stencils that I got, and I just pushed some glue through it. It was Glossy Accents glue. I wasn't quite sure like how I wanted to do this. I just knew I wanted to try to get these beads on, and I used this kind of like different colored bubble looking stencil from Vicky Bouton and pushed that Glossy Accents through it. This is the first time I've ever done that. It did wash off quite easily. I took it right into my bathroom and washed it right off. There you go. Now you see the design that I put in there. I just put kind of one up on the top and one up on the bottom. I am mimicking kind of the design of the sketch that I showed you at the beginning of this video. And that sketch was done by Katie Petite Designs, and I found it on Pinterest. At least I think that's who did the sketch. That's where I found it, was on that website. So on the sketch, it had looked like some stenciling of some sort or some stamping in each of those areas. So I decided that was where I was going to put my micro beads. So you can see that they're not perfect, and they're going to end up, a lot of them are going to be covered up by the time I get done with this design. But I do like how they turned out. They kind of look like bubbles. I'm using Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Seas collection. And my photos are some funny pictures of my parents and my husband and I. We were on Galveston Island, kind of just walking around, enjoying the sights, and we came across this cutout of this admiral carrying a mermaid, and we both decided to get our pictures taken in it. So they're just some funny pictures that we got taken there, and I thought that this collection would be perfect to showcase those. So I'm going ahead and just kind of putting them one on top of each other in like almost like a photo strip looking way. I just kind of wanted it to look a bit like a photo strip. So I put them together there, and that red and white paper is the only thing I'm going to mat it with. The design itself had a lot of what looked like scraps of paper that kind of made up a shelf, and then almost another shelf along the side as well as on the bottom. So I'm kind of following that design, just using some scraps and then some whole sheets from the Simple Stories collection, just to kind of put together and make those two different shelves there. So this has actually turned out to be a pretty simple design by the time I got it done. As you can see by the length of this video, it really didn't take me long to finish it. My second piece of paper, I'm going to go ahead and tear. It's got those anchors on it. I love that blue paper with the white anchors. I just think it's so pretty. I wanted a torn edge on this piece as well. So I went ahead and tore the bottom off, and then I'm just going to cut it off to be the width that I want it to be. And I'm going to tuck it up there under that shelf as well to kind of use these three papers. I've got the red and white. I've got the one with, I don't know what that is. Is it like coral? I'm not even sure what that is. Some kind of sea plant that is under the sea there. And that was the third paper that I used there. I wanted a combination of straight edge, even though I did distress all the edges, but I wanted a combination of straight edge and torn edge on those pieces. So you can see that one there with the plant life looking stuff on it. I left those all straight edge, but I did distress edges, and then the other two papers I tore. That red and white one, I just cut that in half and just kind of spread it out there because it wasn't quite long enough for what I wanted, but it was easy to cut in half because my pictures were going to go over part of it anyway, so I was able to spread it out. Although in the end, I'm going to cover up that one side with my embellishments, so I didn't even really need to include it, if I'm being honest. But I did anyway. So I'm just scuffing up the edges and getting my anchored pieces here on the background. And that's kind of where my pictures are going to lay. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all glued together. Well, taped together, as I am using my double-sided tape there. And I'm going to get that stuck down into place. I really didn't have too hard of a time getting those stuck down over the micro beads because I left a big enough space in the center between my two areas where I stenciled that I was able to stick this right down and really just didn't have an issue with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that stuck down, and then I'm going to start to work on the vertical, I guess I will call it a shelf, that's going to go right next to the photos and kind of anchor that down. With this particular design, I decided I wanted a lot of curled edges to kind of mimic waves, I guess was kind of what was at the back of my mind. And so I did curl up a lot of these edges on this page, and you'll see me kind of ruffling these things every so often and just curling stuff up here just to, give it that feel of being at the ocean. Which, I mean, technically we were because we were in Galveston and, I'm in a Little Mermaid cutout there. So I figured that it worked. And all of the colors that were in that cutout also really, really went well with this collection. So I'm going ahead and I'm just making that vertical shelf. Now I'm using the exact same papers that I used before, and just kind of creating that sideways design there on the side. By the time I get done, I do really like how it looks, and I think that it works really well with the photos, and it's not exactly the same as what's in the sketch, but I just kind of used the sketch for what I thought would work for the photos I had and the embellishments I knew I had. And so that's the best thing to do with a sketch, is you just use it how it works for you. You do not have to follow every single thing and include every single thing that is included in the sketch. You use what works for you. So there I am again. I'm using that combination of torn edges and straight but scuffed up edges on my papers. And I just need to add one more, which is the one with the plant life stuff in it that I really don't know what it is. If you know what it is, you can tell me in the comments because I don't. And this one is also going to be a torn edge. I play around with it in a couple of spots, like right there by the red. And then I'm not quite sure that I like that. It seems to be a little too hidden for me. And so I play with it there. And then I go in between the red and the blue. And I decide that I like it there because that piece actually has all of the colors. It has the red, the dark blue, and also kind of the teal color. Okay, so now I'm going ahead and I am going to start embellishing. Also, off camera, I did matte the layout twice. I used another page from the Simple Vintage Seas Solids, and actually the page that I'm doing this whole layout on, that white is also one of the solids, and it's not quite solid. As you can see there, you can see a little bit of shadow. That's actually a design on the back of the page, so it's not a flat white page. It's actually kind of this off-white with what looks like torn paper on it and stains on it. So it's actually a pretty cool paper. I really liked these solids. So the red on the outside that I matted the whole layout with is also one of the solids. And then I used a printed paper that had ropes, and it was that teal color to kind of go around that too. And I really liked how that pulled the colors from on the page out to the edge. And of course, as I told you, I curled up the edges of both the teal colored paper and the white, and I even added a couple of torn pieces as well to that outline. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I am just placing some of the embellishments that I had there. I had that big lighthouse from, I think it was one of those title packs, you know, you get with Simple Stories. And that piece up there that I just grabbed that says Seize the Day, that was in it too. And that's what I'm going to end up using for my title. So I have the Great Big Lighthouse from that pack. I've got the title, Seize the Day, that I'm using from that pack. I also put one of those plants down there on the side that's kind of sticking out. A wheel and an anchor. I put all of that over on the side, and another piece that says Let the Sea Set You Free. I just liked how all of those pieces went together to form kind of a nice cluster there on the right hand side. And now I'm working on the cluster on the top. This one is pretty small. I have one piece from the sticker sheet that says To the Shore, and that little circular piece I just added said Love the Sea. And I'm going to grab one more thing, and it's going to be this one that says By the Sea. I'm going to end up putting it right there up at the top. That just kind of finishes up that cluster up there. And then I do look through a little bit more at some of these things, but there wasn't too much more I added, but I really liked these starfish, and I just had the idea to stick them over here, just a cute little cluster that kind of blends in with everything underneath the title. So I did pop up a couple of those starfish. I just did it off camera. I wanted a little bit of that kind of tealy blue color over in the cluster on the right. So I stuck one of the tickets from the sticker sheet over there on that cluster. And I think that that really helps to finish that out and give a little bit of that teal color to that side when it was kind of missing. These are the enamel dots that come with this collection, and I'm putting a large, a medium, and a small in the teal color, the red, and the dark blue in each little cluster area on the page. And honestly, guys, this is pretty much it. This was a really simple page. Like I said, I didn't do too awful much with it. Here's the slow down so that you can kind of see how the beads ended up. They're a little messy, but you know what? I don't mind. Scrapbooking can be messy sometimes. I like how they look like bubbles. There's the pretty cluster there with all of the pieces combined, and the funny picture of my parents right there, and the funny picture of my husband and I up on the top. I hope you guys enjoyed this layout and you found some inspiration here. Please make sure you click on the playlist so that you can see everybody else that's in the hop and what they did with their beads, sequins, or pearls today. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.